for them especially too, you don't want to rely on it, but with over 80 points as we get into map 3,
yeah,
realistically, they could go out in 9th with 0 kills and they will qualify for the final.
Yeah,
but
that's
obviously,
fair.
you want to be able to get that win here and kind of flex on these teams. You know, let them know that in the qual and into the final, you are a dominant force to be reckoned with. But now Aydan on your screen and the drop right into the bottom of prison gets to the ground. And remember, you cannot shoot players out of the sky when you're in the sky on that opening drop. But if you're like Aydan and you're picking up these guns early, they are now fair game. Z-Smith instantly able to take out Z Colors. But Miss Sweets will go down in the process. We'll try and get that revive off, but Z-Smith with some of those early opening kills.
Yeah, it's one of those things, I think, when you look at drop towards prison, you have to know that it's going to be kind of a scrappy and maybe even a slow start, just due to the fact that you have so many levels, so many corners, and so many individual cells and different corners that are going to be kind of concealed as you try to look for loot. So it's a difficult drop position, but it is one that if you are able to navigate your ones really nicely, it'll turn into some really good stuff. And this time it's going to be Harbor. I want to say Osaka and Co. were the team that challenged Jesse Cook over by Ken last building, or last drop rather. And this time it's going to be just kind of playing with the circle likely to your back in some regard, whether it be out of the ocean or from the eastern side. And interesting, there's going to be someone who's going to drive right up on them. And for the most part, again, Juki's team just feels like they're already in a good position.
And well, with Hisoka at about 2 kills there, again, this is a team, Hisoka's team, Juki's, they're going to qualify. Just, you want to see, can they break 100 points in 3 maps? And now, Swish as well, Swagg's team, guys, they have been doing a phenomenal job. They are sitting in 2nd place right behind Juki's team. But this is the team that I really have eyes on, right? You have TVE plus Kens, and they are currently in 7th out of 9th. They have not broke 30 points yet. They are going to need to have an exceptionally strong game right now to have a chance to qualify for this. Now, we see Noobs in a similar spot. This is where he was in the prior game, but it didn't really pay off for him. He's gonna be able to get downs like this, but can he connect for the kill? And he will. So he has one on the board, but just this tends to make me a little bit anxious when they're spread out like this. Tommy will be able to get a trade. He'll get downed. He has teammates looking over the top of him there in Ken's, but they're gonna have to be careful. 5x5, a beautiful job from her to get the double. Flies up, and TBE, they are in trouble.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. I get what it's supposed to do when you have Noobs is sitting behind. He's supposed to make sure that his teammates aren't getting shot at from any high ground. But the problem about it is you're going into a 3v question mark situation almost every single time when you're trying to threaten these buildings. So it's a little bit of you gain something by staying safer at range, but you lose something on your ability to actually finish off eliminations quickly. And how about this? It's actually a third-party situation by the look of it, as there's still more fighting going on. 5x5's team is fully in, but you can see Finessin is just kind of waiting to see when the next challenger is going to come through, as there's pretty much an understood threat nearby in some fashion.
They're in that building, though.
Well, we have a bit of a lull here. Finessin just trying to figure out exactly what pressure is going to be on them, what players are around. We want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Mountain Dew. We have 6 cases to give away of their special Flaming Hot flavor. So use command !Flaming Hot in the chat for your chance to win.
That is an interesting flavor combination. One that's like, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of like when you're in middle school at the lunchroom and someone's like, I dare you to eat your Flamin' Hot with your Mountain Dew. And maybe someone did that and then they grew up to be the marketing department of Mountain Dew and they're like, wait, this actually kind of slapped. We should totally make this. So consider my curiosity peaked, that's for sure. But 6 cases? Yeah, come on.
6
that's
cases.
That's a gamer's dream right there.
They could be on their way to you. So again, use command !Flaming Hot and make sure to check your Twitch whispers. If you do, you might get a Flamin' Hot surprise. Now, Biffle waiting on one final teammate to get back into the action. We swing over to Aydan, who I feel like every time we've looked at his POV, he's been in the middle of a gunfight with someone. Now he's able to get out alive, but again, it is that threat, that triple bounty on him for another minute that they're going to have to contend with. This team's going to know where they are the entire time. And well, fortunately, that redeploy shield, not helpful when you need to get around it to get away from a team.
Good news was it was a full team commitment, so the trade is there, no problem. The cleanup comes through. We're down to 7 total teams. There's your leaderboard update once again. Still waiting on Rated to submit his kills. I imagine eventually he'll do that. But this is the margins that we're talking about. The top 3 are pretty comfortable, but really from 4 to 7, anything could still happen to get into that 4th place position, especially considering that Jesse's team, after their win, had no points in their second lobby, and who knows who the first 2 teams were that got eliminated here. So that could possibly put a lot of cause towards a major influx into that last position for the qualifying spot to get into the finals guaranteed. And, well, you see it back. Everyone's still here when it comes to Almond's squad of 4, but they're in a bit of a difficult situation as Almond is going to drop. Noobs was in a bit of a tricky position, and actually, pardon me, that was Tommy who fell. So once again, just kind of this split-natured idea for Tommy, Almond, and Noobs has not really worked out for them as of yet.
Hear me out. I have a question for you, graced to us by chat. Did you ever dip your hamburger in milk in middle school?
Can't say that was ever something that crossed my mind, Katie. No, never did anything like that. It was always like combining like snacks together. Like, I remember the first time I put Lay's potato chips on my sandwich, and I had my life changed.
Solid choice. Solid choice.
So good.
Who knows? Maybe they go well with that flaming hot Mountain Dew, guys. Again, exclamation point flaming hot in chat. And, well, we swing back over to Finesse and Nick Cool calling out that UAV. 7 teams remaining. And a reminder, 8th through 9th do not get a multiplier. So good news for TBE. They will be into that multiplier effect. But again, there's a lot of ground to be made up if they want to qualify. And right now, Finesse just started to work his way toward that loadout. A lot of open area to get through. But also good news for Jesse's team. You're alive as well. Now, maybe not as many kills as they'd like to see, but again, you, despite having a dud game in map 2, were able to get into 4th place with a 10-point buffer over zlaner's team in 5th. So as long as they can roll this out, if they can get those kills, they definitely have a chance of qualifying. And, well, TBE and Ken's, I feel like there's been a little bit of a kind of revive simulator happening here. Every time we take a look at them, it seems like 50% of the team's dead. Now, the good news, they're all still coming back and they haven't had a wipe. But the bad news is it's going to consistently stagger the amount of kills you can get and lend more time to other teams to steal those kills away.
Yeah, this is they're definitely milking the system when it comes to utilizing the Rebirth portion of Rebirth. that much is for sure. But it's still, I still talk about this in a one-dimensional facet. As you start to see that there's going to be no more redeployments available, that is your kind of line in the sand where, all right, our ability to go kind of hunting for kills is now done. We have to get ourselves prepared for the final circle to play for placement. It really is kind of the wall that you have to work your way through and kind of change the idea of how the game is going to kind of fashion for you. Fire sale back into play though once again, so another opportunity to get yourself fully looted and kitted up, while once more TBE squad continues to play off and isolated just in 1v situations.
And here you can see Almond was hunting down that player, and a cheeky spot for them up on top of that cabinet got opening shots and forced him to back off. But it doesn't matter when you can slide in and hip fire like that. Nice job takes out Miss Sweets on Aydan's team. And Ken's back into the map as well now. Still 7 teams remaining, but only 20 players left in the map. Almond, a nice number of kills for him. This is going to be big if they can tack that on. But we swing over Aydan himself with 6 kills and another strong showing so far. I like the performance from them, Aydan's team, in one of those qualifying positions. And that's, again, Tommy that is downed. And they're going to be happy about taking out that kill. A lot of map pressure for them eased for just a moment. But we also know that the likes of folks like Almond are in this general vicinity. And he is not someone you want to go toe-to-toe with out in the open.
That's fair. I just still think that positionally, Aydan's team is in the best spot at the moment. You've got this nice little look at headquarters, and you have the opportunity to freely get into prison depending on how this next circle will move in the next 45 seconds. So I think that just generally speaking for TBE, being stuck down towards the harbor levels is not where you want to be, because the chances of the circle actually ending here are very low. And obviously, as you have to go back up those switchbacks, you put yourself out into the middle of the open. So even though Alma is individually incredible at being able to finesse moments like that, it's still not a position you want to be in. So we'll see as far as how the rotation's going to unfold here. 20 seconds, no more redeploys after that point. And, well, the circle, you have to imagine, is going to go deep in towards the center of this island. So for TBE, it's time to get on your high horse and start moving.
Yeah, I agree. They are definitely in a risky position there. They've also been playing very split up, unlike, I mean, some of these teams, it really depends on the style. Do you want to all hold hands and run as a squad? Well, it might reduce your potential kills because you can't cover most of the map, but it's also much more likely that you're not going to get wiped because you're all with each other. Kind of depends on the play style, but Finesse now in a bit of trouble, looking like a fight. And now we get to Tommy on top prison, only 1 kill, and this is where things get scary. Once again, they look like they're in trouble. And well, Finesse and here sitting in a high position sniper tower authority, and it's him facing off right now with Tommy. And well, Tommy will still have a sliver of that roof to utilize to his left when the circle begins to close, but as he takes more and more time in this singular fight, and Ken's calling that cluster, he's gonna either need to move. I don't want to see him, I guess, waste time on that fight. Even if he gets it down, I don't know if he's gonna be able to convert it into something, and well, I don't think he'll be able to convert it into anything as he gets taken out on top.
That was Brolic. So Jesse's team is still alive. Brolic confirming that elimination.
And Ken's is the last one alive, Shift.
Yeah, that's not good news here. I mean, 8 kills for Ken's. She's having a massive game. But the thing about it is, with their current score and positioning, they need a top 3. So minimum. This is all about can Ken survive? And look where the next circle is going to go. She's going to have to run through prison and then exit to likely people above her. So this is not at all where you want to be, I think, if you're TBE and Ken's in this situation. A lot of players are in this area, so there's going to be similar rotations for other squads, but you know for a fact that there's someone on top prison. You just don't want to have to fight uphill against that position.
Yeah, no, that's going to be tough. We know that they have a minimum of about 15 kills because Ken's had 8. We saw, I think, 1 on Tommy, about 6 or so on Almond. I'm not sure what Noobs had. So their kills aren't bad. The only problem is, well, there's 6 teams remaining, and those multipliers are not going to work in your favor. She will use that final stim now as a boost to try and get out of prison, but she doesn't have the plates either, and she spots someone to her left, but they don't see her. Well, yes, they do now, and as her life ticks down in this storm, if it doesn't get her, zlaner sure will. That is TBE plus Ken's eliminated in, I think, what was that 6th position, as now there's 5 teams left. Take a look at DJ Moss, and that's going to get real scary. I mean, those 15 points, I don't know if they qualify.
No, I don't think they do. Holly's team, though, is still in a position to maybe fight for a top 4 spot. They've got 28.75 points. The gap they have to make up is about 12 total points. So it's definitely doable, especially considering we have got DJ on 5 kills. But it looks like Holly is in trouble. Trying to use the self-revive. May have to stick for this because Ebates is still out in the circle. And Holly will get back up. But the thing about this is you're in this next circle, but look where it's going to move to next. You're going to have to go right back up those switchbacks that you just came from. And that's not necessarily great news because you're going to have Tyranix, who's going to be in the position to maybe see you, if you can even get into the first place. And who else is on this high ground? That's the only real question is there a full team? Because look how many total players we have. 10 total for 4 squads. You have to feel that there's still groups of 4 out there somewhere.
And well, that'll be it. A 4th place finish there.
Ooh.
We swing back over to DJ Moss, and this is what you talked about, this tricky position they're going to have to get out of. And well, Holly feeling the pain. They know someone is there. She's down. Unfortunately, nothing DJ can do to save her because he's too busy trying to save his own life. Does at least have the plates. But this position, yes, if someone looks down at you, you're dead. But at least he knows for the time being he's safe to plate up and try and reassess. But that's going to be a hard reassess when you have the entirety of War's squad alive and well. 4 kills for him, and they make up the majority of the lobby now. So have fun to the remaining 2 teams.
Honestly, this being a full 4 should be a 2 times multiplier. And based on the kill feeds that we've seen, zlaner's been a part of a number of the eliminations. This is the team that's currently in 6th, that's looking primed to win this game. It's going to be a 4v2 to finish. And even though DJ and Ebates are fully plated, with a lot of utility to spare, the high ground is all Team zlaner. Oh, man. This is going to be potential to sneak into the top 4 in this. Oh, did they get the buy station off? Okay, they did.
And the fact that they even had that buy station, well, they spot one, they know he's underneath.
Yeah, it's GG.
And well, unfortunately for him, as that team wipe comes in, that's going to be a beautiful Warzone win and well-deserved, as they're able to rack up a decent amount of kills, and with that ×2, so that we're able to qualify the top 4, get it done. And that is Team Aydan with 97 points in first, Team Swaggs, Jukies, and zlaner taking up 2nd through 4th. Those will be your qualifying teams. Now keep in mind, if you're a fan of 5x5 and her team, they are currently sitting in that bubble spot in 5th place with 56 points. Now depending on what happens in Group B, you could very well see Team 5x5 qualify, be that final team to make it in. But that'll be it. Aydan, Swagg, Jukies, and zlaner. They looked so strong, in particular what we've seen out of Aydan's team so far, and I mean Jukies and Swagg, they look so hot right out of the gate. Thank you, production. Let's get into the game. Map number 1 of 3 in Group B. These teams looking to qualify, make their way into the final.
And again, for all of you viewers, you got to start rooting for some of those conditions to trigger the giveaways that we're getting from Coinbase too. So a lot to watch here, not just to learn who's going to maybe come out on top and maybe set the tone in this group, but on top of that, is there going to be the ability to maybe even collect a couple of extra dollars yourself? And oh boy, Brittany's team all trying to go through the same window. They were the last ones in, and it looked like 3 of them had fallen immediately to whatever the first weapon was that that opponent had picked up. So chaos already starting to brew in the opening moments.
Oh my god, I didn't die. Please watch.
Katie, do we lose you?
Yeah.
I'll just back up for the rest.
I like what we're seeing so far. I mean, when it comes to something like Breadman, I think maybe no kills to open it early on, but not ever something I'm particularly worried about. It seems like they might be taking at least a somewhat similar approach to what we saw out of, say, like a TBE group last time, which was a bit slower and just get your loot and get yourself stabilized. In the meantime, HMA and M-Sage are coming back from that redeploy, but unfortunately here for Breadman, yes, no one immediately shooting at him, but there are at least a few players who know his position, so it looks like he's going to try and just rotate away as HMA unfortunately redeploys and immediately has a triple threat.
Yeah, this is one of those situations when you get pushed off of your initial drop spot, you're not just scrambling to put together a weapon loadout, but you're kind of scrambling just to find ground to work with. This is not at all where you want to be when it comes down to eventual rotations, because not only are you in an unfavorable position to fight, but you're probably not going to be able to find too many fights. And this is that key moment once you get yourself looted up to start really kind of getting yourself established towards that high kill number that everyone's playing for. Or just getting onto high ground positions like Unrational is on right now, kind of watching their team still fight for the top of prison. So you would love to be a part of that engagement, I think, if you're Unrational, but at the same point, you really cannot give up this spot, especially as you have a couple teammates who've already fallen.
Utex getting back up on his feet and trying to regroup with his team. A little bit of a scary situation there just for a moment, but it looks like they were able to stabilize and make it out alive. And this is a team I'm going to be curious to see how exactly they perform through this. You can see Destroy there stepping in for Apathy. And Destroy, this is someone we know was doing a watch party for Group A initially, and you'd expect to do well, right? We know the firepower he can implement, but now as we swing over to Uncivil's team, not a lot of kills yet either, but whenever you look at a team and they're all alive, you know, at least something's going right.
Oh, and they're about to get pushed on. This is a really good read from Devise, but he really can't do too much besides tag a couple of armors. And actually, how about it? Softens it up enough for Uncivil to actually eliminate one of the players on the push forward. So not bad overall. You hold the ground that you were trying to really desperately fight for. That's the decent news for now. But I still think just generally, sitting over towards Nova 6, bottom side harbor, unless the circle really gives a clear indication that's going to pull this direction, it's difficult to fight around those areas. So you're hoping for a little bit of circle bless, I think, right there if you're Devise and Co. But at least you're able to at least keep all 4 players alive and deal with that incoming threat to try to test them.
Much like what we saw out of Swagg's team, you see Joewo there trying to lock down that top prison authority, and, well, they're going to have to be careful. Jared FPS forced to back off, but we saw it. Swagg's team did the same thing and found a lot of success in capitalizing and gaining control of that top prison area. It gives you that 360-degree view of everything that's happening on the map, lets you know all the locations. Is someone calling down a loadout, you're going to be able to see it there. So the communication and just the accessibility it gives you is really second to none. And now we can see Breadman just backing off, does have that sniper in hand. We certainly know what he can do with it, coupled with that Owen, but just a little bit tentative here from him on pushing out, and for good reason. 2 members of your team once again getting that redeploy, so you don't want to be a little too aggressive and leave 1 player remaining to stay alive.
We have already lost one of our first squads as well. It's important to note that we're down from 9 to 8. Multiplier for joining us here late does start technically at top 7, but it doesn't become significant until the top 5, if not arguably the top 3. So a lot of imminent kind of fights that you have to, at least at this moment, hope that you can kind of get that kill tally up to right now in this next about 1:30, and then you can start considering what you want to do as far as rotation is concerned. Not a lot of kills here for Breadman, and he's being threatened by what looks to be a couple of different players. One obviously up close, and there's one deeper, which that sniper rifle will likely be the end of Breadman, pending they don't let him get his self-revive off. But how about it? Extra life, stim shot, and immediately out of dodge. That's a hell of a reset.
And not only that, he took down Super Evan. So you have to assume, I mean, the likes of FIFA and Co. got to be somewhere nearby. But the fact that Breadman's not only able to get that kill and get away with his life is impressive. And granted, on the other side, Super Evan's team, they don't know if there's other players lurking around. So maybe they just didn't want to commit to a hallway push where they'd be left entirely exposed to anyone else pre-firing down the way. But now we swing back to Device and see 3 kills. Not bad at this point. Well, you spot one up on the roof. Can you couple it with a down? Gets the blue, but not much more. Chucks the throwing knife, and that would have been the clip of the day if he was able to get it. But for right now, Legendary should be safe if he can get around this corner for the revive. But so far, so good as we get into the 26 remaining players. Keep in mind, guys, it is that nice number 7 for teams left when multipliers take effect.
And just kind of for what it's worth, looking at how Device's team has started to move around this circle, I think they're starting to become aware that we don't really want to be over towards Harbor because this circle looks like it's going to finish on the upper levels maybe, just based on the fact that the concentrated part of this second circle is towards Prison. And the only rotation you have is to make your way through that residential area and then work your way up the back, hopefully staying away from that sniper tower in some regard. It's a difficult rotation, though. And I think you're starting to see exactly why as they kind of get pushed and halted over towards the residential neighborhood. So tough scenes as far as that rotation is going to be for the next 50 seconds or so. Still do not have a timer as far as when the Rebirth part of the mode will stop. But you have to feel like with still 8 total squads, it'll be somewhere around that 3 circle mark. So we'll see as teams start to vie for positioning. It's all about how quickly and cleanly you can start finding kills as you start to rotate up towards that top level.
And poor Unrational getting his body shot already. It's
Badly.
not even the end of map 1, guys. And I love the aggression. Uncivil Queen with a nice 4 kills here. So we get to sub 30 players. And, well, FIFA's team alive and well. What was a pretty rocky start for them. They've managed to stabilize, at least for the time being, although maybe not necessarily in the best position, but you'll be happy to hold any teams, and that is Stu taking out Joewo. Super Evan alongside him. So we've seen about 4 kills. We're not sure what Stu and FIFA have, but, well, this player is about as good as dead. You never want to be jumping off a roof like that.
And look at all the information that's coming through. There's the fire sale. 55 seconds until the 3rd circle will start to move. And you have to imagine that, our Rebirth timer will come up around the same time. But there's really no great option for a buy station around Stu's squad. There's one behind them, but it's kind of out in the middle of the open around where the actual prison yard is itself. And you don't really want to be there when there's a team guaranteed on top of the prison yard. So maybe not able to use this fire sale to too much regard, and that's going to be really a big hindrance because these UAVs at this moment are going to be huge for whoever has high ground patrol.
Now, this is one of those teams when you looked at Group B, you expect them to qualify. We'll see if they can do just that. Unrational, Scum, and Huskerrs and Smixy take out a nice kill onto Xenon, but Scum and downed as well. The trides back and forth. That was IQ, and Uncivil actually gets a kill as well, so maybe more trouble than they bargained for on that boat. Back to Breadman. Well, he's been opening and shutting that door for a while now, and he opened it to a prize that he didn't want. Bullet straight to the face, forced to back away. Still sitting at about 2 kills, and this is where you have to judge how much time are you willing to commit to a certain location, even if it's a power spot. He was never able to take over top prison and wasted a significant amount of time trying to do so. So now he's in a spot where you only have 2 kills and you have to rotate. But Blue, he's trying to get around the corner. Unfortunately, not able to get there in time. I think maybe started trying to self-revive before he got around, so he was thirsted. But if you're Dakota, at least I think he was able to pick up a UAV, might be able to put that to very good use.
Oh, yeah, and that's what I was about to say on that rotation. You know, you're going to be UAV'd pretty much the whole way through this. Oh, my. High-low stack inside this outside building. Dakota on 1 HP gets the stim off. Tries to break the camera on the slide in. Not going to work out. Jared, it looks like, has gotten the trade, though. That was Zenon who was sitting inside this building. Not enough for a full squad wipe, Katie. We still have 8 total teams as our players will no longer be able to respawn here with the next 4 seconds.
And that's huge. That moment changes everything, especially when everyone in your team is dying right as you can no longer redeploy just like that. Scummin is in a pickle. Yes, Huskerrs, if he can survive for the next 30 seconds, will come back. But the fact that Smixy and Unrational are both dead, that is a ton of pressure on them to be able to make something happen, especially when there's still 8 teams left in this lobby. So many people. Good news, Scummin, yeah, you're about to have 8 kills here, but you got to get away with your life. Uses the stim to scramble, sees one, knows there's at least 2 in his direct location, goes for the rechow, but not able to get eyes on anyone just yet. And I like that. This is Scummin very similar to Almond.
Oh my God.
In this case, Shift, that he is able to finesse these buildings and play these fights to perfection. And that's what gives him a nice 2-piece. And, well, he's going to need it because Unrational's back, but Huskerrs has fallen.
The fact that he finessed those gunfights and got the redeploy off for Unrational is next to miraculous. But the problem is there's still you saw it on the UAV, there are still so many players around. He does get the thirst on that final elimination, but Unrational's left with whatever he can find on the ground. And as you see it, it's not the greatest loot in the world. Not the worst, not the greatest. Does actually find himself a little bit better weaponry around the backside, but the circle is pushing. He's being challenged, and that will be the end of Unrational and Scummin's group in the 7th place position. So even though the finesse was incredible, the points are not going to show up. Quickly through the door comes a contest from Destroy, and that actually will be Dakota able to find 1 as the trade, I'm sure, will be there. And now that we start to rotate, look where this circle is, Katie. There is barely any real estate to work with. So if you're not going to play for the circle, you better have a ton of stim shots, because there is a group of 4 waiting for you on the tip of this ship by Harbor.
And it's Breadman with a snipe. No thank you. I think I'd rather die before I ran toward that. Now, the only bright side, guys, yes, Scummin's team went out early, but Scum on his own had double-digit kills, so while they will have that 1.25 multiplier, it's not the end of the world. Now, Breadman up to 3 kills here, but they have the positioning. They have the teams left alive. H-Mates team, though, alongside M-Sage and Joewo, they are in a very good spot to capitalize on this. Not only do you have ground control, but you have M-Sage up here on the roof, being able to play that Overwatch position, but he's gonna have to be careful, doesn't have a lot of plates, and now Joewo is caught out. Everyone is suddenly falling. What looked to be so good is getting picked apart one by one, and now just like that, 6 players remaining.
And just like that, maybe 2 players remaining. Yeah, there's not a lot of lives here to deal with, and it will just be down to Breadman for a 1v1. Can't get the armor plates off. It was IQ, I believe. Yeah, sure is. That gets the final kill, and that's the thing about this game mode here, Katie. You could be in the best position.
The board, it's really only Blast's team that's in a tough position here, but it's going to be Team Joewo. We highlighted them for a reason. That's currently in first place with 32 points, followed by Mutex, IQ, and J Device, taking in those current qualifying positions. Now, is that going to shift and probably shift significantly?
Yeah.
Yes, we have 2 more maps to get through, but it's anyone's game right now. You said it so well, Shift. There is no dominant leader like we kind of saw at the very get-go in Group A.
Yeah, 23 kills. That was the only result that we were kind of missing when we were initially on break, was Mutex's final score, and they finished 6th with those 23 kills. So it just goes to show that in this format, big kill numbers, even if you don't get the full position that you want, still keeps you in the running. And there's not a lot you can ask, I would say, for a lot of those teams that were looking to rotate into that final circle. We went from 7 teams down to a 1v1 in about 30 seconds. So it's just kind of the byproduct and nature of how this lobby can sometimes go. So really what it means is, it really is just the definition of anyone's game. Even for a team like Flank that had 16 kills and finished at 8th position, only being down that same number leads to massive opportunities. But this second lobby is going to be a key one to really, I think, separate the cream of the crop.
Yeah, no front runners just yet. That might start to reveal itself a bit more once we get to the conclusion of map 2. But of course, we'll have to wait and see for all that action. But for Joewo's team, you got to be happy with that. Breadman, even though he wasn't able to get that first place, honestly, you take it, you secure it with the kills, you secure that.